Breaking news! Things are hot behind the scenes for the Baltimore Ravens. It looks like we're in for some exciting news, and I'm going to tell you all about it. Before you go any further, make sure you've already hit the like button if you believe we're going to make it to the Super Bowl. I totally believe it. If possible, comment something like, "Go Ravens, let's win the Super Bowl." Now, let's get down to business. The Baltimore Ravens front office went into the trade deadline with ambitions, especially with the defense in mind, hoping to improve key positions and provide crucial support in the secondary. But when the time came, despite some serious last-minute efforts, the Ravens found themselves either outclassed or stuck in deals that fell through at the last minute. The big buzz heading into the deadline was about adding depth in the secondary and improving pass pressure. Ravens fans know how crucial having a strong defense is, especially in the AFC North, where games are often defined by who can stand up on that side of the ball. As we've all seen, the Ravens recently acquired wide receiver Deontay Johnson, who filled a void on the offensive end, but defensive targets have proven harder to secure. There were high hopes of adding an impactful cornerback or safety, someone who could ease the burden on Marlon Humphrey and take some pressure off Brandon Stephens, who has struggled this season. Names like Myles Garrett and Maxx Crosby have come up, teasing fans with the possibility of a major defensive upgrade. It's no surprise, however, that both the Browns and Raiders have kept their star pass rushers. The Ravens tried to pursue Jeffrey Simmons as well, but the Titans made it clear he wasn't going anywhere. Even Jadeveon Clowney was considered, but nothing materialized. These types of moves could have been game-changing for the Ravens' defense, but each lead ended in a dead end. One of the most intriguing rumors came right after that intense Bengals game. Albert Breer reported that Baltimore tried to land cornerback Marshon Lattimore from the New Orleans Saints, a move that would have solidified the Ravens' secondary in a huge way. Imagine having Lattimore and Humphrey side by side. Quarterbacks would have a hard time knowing where to throw, but it didn't happen. The Commanders swooped in with a better offer, including a package of third- and fourth-round picks, outbidding the Ravens. With Lattimore off the table, Ravens fans are left wondering how much of an impact he could have had, especially with the recent focus other teams have put on Brandon Stephens. Just when we thought there couldn't be more heartbreak, another deal fell through at the last moment. This time it was a potential trade for defensive lineman Calais Campbell, a former Raven who left a mark in Baltimore and would have been a welcome addition back on the defensive line. Campbell's experience, versatility, and ability to disrupt plays would have been a huge plus, especially in games where the Ravens need depth. But, as has become almost a tradition for Baltimore, the trade collapsed just before the deadline. Campbell would have brought a familiar face and a steady hand back to Baltimore, capable of blocking field goals and being a difference maker on the line. But again, it slipped away. If you're a longtime Ravens fan, you know this isn't the first time the team has come close only to miss out. Last year, similar stories circulated about the Ravens pursuing Jarvis Landry to help out on offense. These repeated close calls bring frustration for fans, as many are left wondering why the front office doesn't push harder to close these deals when they could be pivotal to the team's success. As it stands, Baltimore did manage to secure a cornerback at the deadline, but it wasn't exactly the high-profile addition fans hoped for. The team traded for Travis White, and while we're all hopeful that he'll step up, he's not Marshon Lattimore. The situation has left many Ravens fans with a bittersweet feeling. Travis White's arrival could be a positive development if he finds his rhythm with the Ravens, especially since he even waived his per-game bonuses to facilitate the trade. That kind of commitment says a lot about his desire to prove himself here, and if he's ready to make Baltimore his new home, we're all for it. But as exciting as White's potential is, he doesn't have the same game-altering reputation as someone like Lattimore. So what's next? The Ravens head into the second half of the season without some of those coveted upgrades. The pass rush remains a priority area that didn't see the reinforcement we'd hoped for, and the secondary, although bolstered by White's addition, still needs to prove its mettle against elite offenses. We can only hope that the front office's efforts to strengthen the defense, even if they didn't come to fruition this time, are signs of more aggressive moves to come in the future. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you think the Ravens missed a big opportunity by not securing Lattimore or Campbell? Would you have been willing to part with more picks to get the job done? Share your thoughts below. Let us know what you would have done differently, or if you think the Ravens still have what it takes to go all the way with the roster as it stands. The Ravens have made some major moves, and one that's turning heads is the release of defensive end Yannick Ngakoue. Now let's break down what happened here because this wasn't your typical cut. Ngakwe's release came after the trade deadline, which meant he was subject to waivers rather than free agency. Because of that timing, Ngakwe was up for grabs by any team in need, and the New England Patriots wasted no time claiming him. If the Ravens had made this move before the deadline, Ngakwe could have slipped straight back onto the Ravens practice squad without hitting waivers. But by releasing him after, they took a risk, and this time, it didn't pay off. It's got fans wondering why Baltimore didn't make the move earlier if they wanted to keep him in-house. This decision might have come down to prioritizing the remaining roster slots, showing that Baltimore wasn't as committed to Ngakwe as they initially appeared.
On the injury front, safety Kyle Hamilton gave us a scare last game. He went down with a non-contact injury, and those can be serious. At first, fans feared the worst. Some were thinking it could be an Achilles injury, others an ankle issue. But, thankfully, head coach John Harbaugh provided an optimistic update, describing it as an ankle sprain and noting that it wasn't as severe as it looked. Over the years, fans have sometimes taken Harbaugh's injury assessments with a grain of salt, but credit where it's due, his predictions this season have been spot on, like when he accurately estimated Keaton Mitchell's return or when he reassured fans about Marlon Humphrey's minor post-game injury. According to insider Ian Rappaport, Hamilton's ankle tests returned as positive as possible, meaning this talented defensive star shouldn't be sidelined for long. This is huge, especially since Hamilton has been one of the team's biggest playmakers despite the Ravens' defensive challenges. Now, speaking of defense, it's no secret that the Ravens' defense has struggled this season, especially in zone coverage. We've seen quarterbacks like Joe Burrow expose Baltimore's weak spots when they're not in man coverage. Against the Ravens' zone defense, Burrow had a stellar performance with a 131.5 passer rating, racking up 3 touchdowns and over 360 yards. Yet, when the Ravens switched to man coverage, his stats dipped, completing only 31.7% of his passes. That's a massive gap and highlights where this Ravens defense is falling short. It's a mix of play calling and execution, and defensive coordinator Zach Orr has been under a lot of scrutiny for this. Players like Marcus Williams and Brandon Stevens need to lock down their side of the field, and fans have been vocal, saying the defense isn't holding its end. But here's the upside. The Ravens have a 10-day break before their next game, giving players like Hamilton and Isaiah likely extra time to recover and reset. The rest is crucial for these key players, especially as the Ravens approach some tough games down the stretch. Last game, we saw Travis Jones make his return, and his impact on the pass rush was immediately noticeable. His performance helped set up plays for other defenders and kept the opposing offense under pressure, which is exactly what Baltimore needs to succeed in the latter part of the season. So Ravens Nation, what do you think? Was releasing Yannick Ngakoue the right move, or could the team have handled it better? And what's your take on this defense? Can Hamilton and the other guys turn things around, or will penalties and coverage issues hold the team back? Share your thoughts, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on all things Ravens.